Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. It's Dave with you yet again. Hope you're doing good. Been having a lot of fun going on other people's podcasts lately, and it's always fun to get on and be in the passenger seat. It's it's a joy. So if you're looking for a guest for your show and you're like, it's hard to find a guest. Well, Dave slowly raised his hands right here. I would love to be on your show. I would love to come on and interview you on your own show and be your guest interviewer. Maybe that would work. Or just hang out with you on your show. If you're ever looking for a guest, you're stumped. You're like, maybe Dave would come on my show. Yeah, I would. I'd love to come on your show. Let me know. howtopodcast.ca. Send me your calendar link, or we can use mine, whatever you like. And I'd love to come on your show. That'd be fun. I'd love to participate and support you. As one podcaster to another, I'd love to do that. So today, we're going to talk about something to do on your show on a pretty regular basis. It could be calendar driven. It could be a certain episode number you reach. For today, let's use the number 50. So every 50 episodes, I've got a few things you should look at in your podcast and do a review of your own show and see where you're at, see if there's an opportunity to change something up or make an adjustment or something. But there could be something that you could do every 50 episodes to make your show better. Now, you could say every 100 episodes, every 10 episodes. The number's not that important. But we're going to use 50 as a guide. Glad you're here. Let's jump in. So this is episode 428 of the How to Podcast series. Now, if you add in all the Daily Daves and all the other bonus stuff, it's well over 500 episodes here combined. And I like to do a review of my show around every 50 episodes, give or take. It's kind of my litmus test for my show, is to go back and do some review, do some careful reflection and go, how's the show doing? How am I growing? And is there anything I could tweak, anything I can improve? And with your feedback, which is very helpful. Right now, I put a call out to you, the listener, that I'm looking to talk to 5 listeners every month. And so far, great conversations. Love talking to you. Very encouraged by the response. So thank you. And if you would love to sit and chat about podcasting, this show, your show, any show, I'd love to get feedback for this podcast to make it better, but I would also love to meet you. So anytime you're interested, howtopodcast.ca, and my dog's barking at somebody outside. Anytime you want, come and check me out over at howtopodcast.ca, and my calendar link's right there. And I'd love to meet with you and chat podcasting and get your feedback. But I've been getting feedback on the show and making some little subtle tweaks here and there and just playing with it. And that's the beautiful thing about your podcast, is you can do whatever you want. And you really can't break this podcast thing. So do what you like. Try something. Experiment. And you never know. You might stumble into some really great new things you can do on your show. So I'm going to go through a few things that you could maybe look at every 50 episodes, 100 episodes, 20 episodes, whatever you want. I'm using 50. Every 50 episodes, this is what I kind of look at and see if there's any opportunities for growth. So as a podcaster, as your podcast grows, you set these regular review points, and it's really helpful to keep your show fresh and relevant and optimized for growth. You want to be growing all the time, right? So here's some key areas to audit your podcast. The first is your website, and you have a website, right? Yes. So let's look at our website first. I love having a website for my podcast. Outside of my business, I have my truemediasolutions.ca for my business side of what I do in podcasting. But every show I have has their own domain, their own website address. howtopodcast.ca, dadspace.ca, podcasteditingandsupport.com, livingthenextchapter.com, livingmysidehustle.com, upcyclecanada.ca, dailysantapodcast.com. All these things are all websites for each of my shows, and they all have their own unique place on the internet. having a website for your show is a great way for you to control the conversation. You don't control the conversation on social media. You don't control the conversation on YouTube. You control the conversation by having your own website. So when I go to people's websites, specifically podcast websites for people with their podcast, I'm seeing some things that are a little out of date. A couple things to think about. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, generally, most of the websites that we use and the builders that build the websites, there's a copyright date. So if your copyright date says 2020, it's 2025, you might want to update that because that makes you look like you're not updating your website. So one thing you can do is you could make it say 2025 and beyond so that way you don't have to keep coming back. But I like updating it all the time and trying to do that. So you might find on my websites where I haven't done it yet. Again, work in progress. So on the bottom, just see if there's a copyright and make sure it reflects this year. Another thing I'm seeing are people still linking to Google Podcasts. Now, Google Podcasts is no longer available. So when I click your link to Google Podcast, it goes nowhere. So you might want to take that off. So my suggestion for all podcast websites is to have something closer to the top where I can click and go right to your show on Apple. For all you Apple heads out there, I am not one of those. And an Android link. So Spotify is pretty popular. I listen to everything on Spotify. I know you can come at me, but I like Spotify because I can go from music to podcasts and all that stuff in one. I know. But I like it, so don't take it away from me. Don't be harsh. So I use Spotify. So I have a Spotify and Apple, and then I have Podlink, which is a service that allows you, episodes.fm does it as well. Podlink, where you can have one link to your show. You just go on pod.link, it's free. Search for your show. It'll give you a link to your podcast on Podlink, and on there you can see all the different player apps. Again, Apple, Spotify, and Audible, and then on and on and on with all the other ones. So that's a great way for your audience to pick. It's a little overwhelming if they don't know what they're looking for. But for me, I like giving that as well. That's what I put that pod link address when I post on Instagram stickers, right? In my stories, I'll have a link out sticker. People say don't put links on social media. They're there, so use them. So every time I do a story, I link out through my pod link, which allows people to pick whatever you want. Please don't just have Apple. And please stop saying only review me on Apple as your CTA, by the way, because for me as an Android person, I can't do that. So stop it. And please stop saying to the Apple people, follow me on Spotify when people love Apple, right? Your people will come to you how they come to you. But make sure that your podcast website doesn't have a Google link to a Google podcast because it doesn't exist. So don't frustrate people. Make sure you update that. So if you see that on your website, please reach out if you don't know how to take that off. And let's update those links and make sure they work. Go on and click it. Go on your website as a user. Click all the buttons. Make sure everything works. And if Google Podcast is there, take it away. Review and update your website's content, your images, that picture of you from 10 years ago. Might be a time to update that to a little more relevant and more recent. And make sure that everything's accurate on your website. Regularly check for broken links. Go click all the buttons. Make sure everything works. Everything goes to where it says it's going. And remove any outdated information and add any new content to help you boost your SEO. So search engine optimization. You want your website to come back as a result when people are searching for what you talk about, whatever that is. So make sure your website's got good words that are searched by your audience to find you. Make sure you're framing how you talk about your show in the voice and the lingo of your audience, not you as the host, but how your audience would find you, not how you want them to find you. Okay, keep that in mind. And consider a design refresh by adding some new sections, resources, guest profiles, listener testimonials, reviews. If you have reviews, grab them and bring them in to your show. Remember, I'm using Pod Status. That's a great website for you to use to find your stuff. Another one is Pod SEO, which will help you to find out where you're ranking for your podcast on the keywords that your show is showing up for and how you rank across Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and Audible, Amazon. So that's a great tool. Those are great opportunities for you to make sure you're showing up where you want to show up. So go in every 50 episodes, insert your number here, and look at your website. Make sure it's great. Now, if you don't have a website, and you're like, I hate technology, I'm not good at this. A distant recommendation, which I say is an entryway into this for you, but please don't live there forever. You can use something like Podpage. Podpage will take your hosting site, your RSS feed, which is what you use to distribute your podcast everywhere. It'll pull in that information into a website format. The only thing I don't like about it is that Podpage is taking your Google Juice. It's taking its search results, because when you look at the website address, it'll say podpage.com/howtopodcast. So technically, Podpage is taking a lot of your search results for themselves, leaving you with what's left over. So if you don't have the time, the expertise, but you got some cash and you just want an easy way to do it, go try Podpage, set up your stuff. It's a one-time setup. They've got multiple levels, all at incremental costs to add more bells and whistles. But I would just go with the very basics, and there you go. You got a website. Okay? And then I would still buy my domain, no matter what you do. I would still go buy my domain, a .com, a .ca here in Canada, .uk, however you guys do that over in the UK. Whatever you can do, .info, .fm, whatever it is. Buy a domain for you and your show. And so if you have a coaching business and your coaching business is the ABC Coaching, then try getting abccoachingpodcast.com, right? You just add the word podcast onto it. Then you can get that domain, grab that domain, point it at your Facebook page, point it at your LinkedIn, point it at Instagram, your X account, whatever, your YouTube channel, point it at your Facebook, anything. Just point it somewhere while you have it. And then at least you can talk about it on the show. And then if you want to set up a pod page, that's one alternative. I personally use my own domain and build my own websites. And I do it either on Canva or I do it on GoDaddy. They have a website builder. Super straightforward. Any questions, reach out. I'd love to help you. Go every 50 episodes and check out your website. The next one, go take a look at your show notes and your transcriptions. There's a lot of noise around show notes right now. What's important, what's not important, how many words. You're going to hear gurus that tell you to use every single word possible, every character. So if there's 4,000, 10,000 characters, you better fill them all up. Then there's other people who are like, I'll give you 3 words and a link. That's it. So take what you want, do what you want here. I do know, despite what gurus will say, that I have had in my show notes a list of authors for a single book. Each author wrote a chapter, and the goal was for me to interview each of the authors for each chapter. Some authors backed out, never showed up. So I have like 90% of the authors participated. But you can go on YouTube and you can search up the names of the authors who did not participate and were not interviewed on my show. Because their names are in the show notes description for that episode on YouTube, they show up. You can search them and it takes you to an episode where their name is mentioned in the notes. It works. So whatever that guru is telling you that it doesn't work, they don't know what they're talking about. So it does work. Just keep it in mind. So those show notes are really important. Episode titles are really important. Your podcast is very important. The description of your show. But go in and take a look at your show notes. Update your show notes. format to include really good summaries of what happened in the episode. One of the things I'm doing right now is I'm pulling a transcription of every episode of all of my podcasts. And then I'm going to start creating LinkedIn articles. For Dad Space, I'm thinking of a book, possibly, from the content of my show, grabbing every episode and then grouping them together in topics and then maybe working it into a book down the road. LinkedIn articles, like I said, you could do, and then also taking the content, the transcription, and then summarizing it to get the big takeaways, the big idea, maybe some quotable moments from that conversation, using it for social media, using it for the show notes, using it on LinkedIn, a blog post, whatever that is. But capturing that information and doing something more with it than just releasing the episode and moving on. So look at your show notes. Are you happy with it? Get some feedback from your audience. Do they even read your show notes? Are you investing too much time in your show notes? Are you investing no time in your show notes? Where are you at with that? And come up with the best show notes that you feel served your audience. Just keep that in mind. It's all about the audience. That's the most important thing. And for those that do transcriptions, you're going to get a transcription on Spotify. You're going to get a transcription on Apple and YouTube. They kind of come with the platform. So if you're happy with that, great. Just go with that. It doesn't cost you anything. And you can just move forward with that. Those are the top 3 that I would say require a transcription. Some people will have the transcription for every episode on their website. It's another alternative. For me, I just use the Apple, Spotify, and YouTube transcriptions that come native to those platforms. Show notes and transcripts. Take a look at those every 50 episodes. And then the next one is to think about your call to action. So if you've been here longer than 5 minutes, you know that I say pathway to engagement over call to action, because call to action is a marketing term and marketing breaks a lot of things in life. So I like to go with pathway to engagement, the next logical step. After hearing the episode, where do we go? What do we do? How do we connect further? Once we've finished the episode, pathway leading somewhere to engagement. Instead of requiring somebody to do something, we're inviting them to do it through a pathway. Let's reevaluate the end of your show. Where are you sending people? What are you inviting them to do? And what's the value to them? To leave you a review, it's not a high value proposition for your listener. It's great for you. Helps you possibly grow your show and get in front of people. Okay. But what does the audience get from that? Not much. So is there something else or different that would benefit your audience over just giving you a review? Maybe it's time with you. Maybe it's a discount on something. Maybe it's a special offer for a course or a book you've written, or fill in the blank. But give your audience a reason to follow through at the end of the show. Make sure that you're consistently encouraging listeners to take meaningful action, such as subscribing, sharing, leaving reviews, or visiting your website, and update your CTAs, or pathway to engagement, to align with your current goals. If you got a new newsletter coming out, you have a community event, you're going to be at a conference, all things where people can connect with you. If you are hosting a meetup, like the howtopodcast.ca website features, we have a meetup twice a week, everybody. Go check it out and use that call to action, pathway to engagement, to lead people to the next logical step that benefits them, not just you. The other thing we can look at too is our show artwork and our branding for our show. So that artwork that goes along with your podcast, so when you see it on a player, it's a little square image, shows up on YouTube as thumbnails, shows up on your Instagram and your social media platforms, your colors, your logo, the name of your show and how it appears on there. Is it time for a refresh? Like, we buy a house and we live in it for years, and then we're like, you know what? These walls could really use some paint. Saying that because my walls really need some paint. Look around you and kind of go, well, could I just, make this look a little bit better? Could I put some plants in the front yard and maybe cut the grass? Could I do some cleaning, straightening it up, make this place look a little better? Yeah, probably could. And your podcast could also benefit from that as well. So go in, spruce it up a little bit, make it look nice, change some colors, maybe change the font, invite your audience to submit their own show artwork for your podcast, and just take a look at your show in general terms and go, how do I feel about the original artwork for the show? Is it still serving the show? Is it still connecting? Or does it need a little tweak? And you're like, I don't know. Then reach out and let's have a conversation, because maybe we can talk through it together. I think that may be a great idea that you and I just spend some time together looking at your artwork and seeing if there's something we can do to improve it. If you want some feedback, I'd love to help you. Go and assess your podcast artwork and branding elements every 50 episodes or so. Consider a refresh to stay visually appealing to your audience. Remember, they're going to see your podcast on an app before they hear your voice. Make sure that everything's in line with current trends and how your podcast grows over time. Your podcast is improving every episode, so maybe it's time to look at your artwork with fresh new eyes and get some opinions from your audience or from a guy named Dave who hosts a podcast called the How to Podcast series. Another thing you can do is take a look again at your podcast name and your show description. So you can keep the name of your show. So I have the How to Podcast series. I have Dad Space. I have Living the Next Chapter. But then in addition to the actual name of my show, which I would speak into the microphone, there's also a subtitle, like a book has a subtitle. The main title of the book, a colon, and then a kind of an expansion on what the idea of the book is, the expansion on what the podcast is about. That's extra words that should be meaningful to a listener and easy for a search engine to find. The combination of the two. Not just a place to stuff a bunch of keywords, but it should mean something to somebody when they see that. And you can always just call the name of your show, and never mention the title extension for your podcast. It just lives there working for you in the background to help you get found. So take a look at the name of your show. Maybe it's time to update the extension beyond the name of your show. What can you tweak? Maybe you're doing something a little different, or you have a seasonal thing that you're working on, or a special project or topic. Then embrace that and bring that into the name of your show without changing the actual name of your show. Just change that extension. Play with that. Try it, and then try again. As you work on that, it's going to help you to develop and be found by more people. So review your podcast title and description. If your show's focus has shifted slightly, then update the name or add relevant extension for clarity and discoverability, and also jump in again and reread your description of your show. How does it look to a new person who doesn't know anything about you? Sometimes we get caught up in what the curse of knowledge. We know what our show's about, but it's not crystal clear to somebody who's new to our world, who doesn't know us, has no idea what we're talking about on our show. It's their first time through the door. So if we can make it super easy, then we'll get a better response from people. And people will know they're in the right place because they read your podcast description and go, okay, yeah, this is for me. So make sure your description is nice and clear. Another thing, talking about updates, is the titles of our episodes. The more you podcast, the more you learn about things like your episode titles. And when you first started your show, maybe you had simple titles that weren't very descriptive, didn't really tell you what was happening in the show, and you could go back and make them better. You really could. So for another example, like I said, I'm going through and getting a transcription of my episodes, and I'm going to do a variety of different things with those. I'm also going to give that description of the show to an AI model tool. I'm using Perplexity in the moment, and say, give me some suggested title updates for this episode based on the content, based on the overview of what we talked about. And give me a character limit, because on YouTube it's 100 characters. So keep it within a 100 character limit for YouTube. And give me some great searchable words and put it in the context of my listener who's creating a podcast. How can I take this content, fit it into 100 characters, and make it more descriptive and better than what I currently did 20 episodes ago? So use this 50 episode mile marker to kind of go, okay, let me go back and look at these episode titles, and are they serving me? Am I getting the traction? Am I getting people clicking play? Then use this as a moment to kind of go review that and go, well, it could be a little bit better. So use your AI tool of choice, submit your transcriptions, submit your summary, and ask for advice on what a good title looks like. And then kind of Frankenstein all of the results together so that it sounds like you, and try that for your title. You can do that anytime. It's not going to change anything in your show. You're not uploading a new episode to replace the old one. You're just going into your hosting site, going into the edit field for that episode, and making some tweaks and hitting save. That's it. All of the people who have listened to that episode in the past won't even know. Only the new people and search engines will be able to pick up on the changes that happen. So keep that in mind. And as just a side note, going back to the artwork for a second, if you do decide to change the artwork for your show, and the original artwork name, the file name for that artwork was show artwork 1 dot whatever, PNG or JPEG, then change it and go show artwork 5 or 3 or show artwork update, and just change the name of the artwork so that it's not the exact same name as the previous image that you were changing. If you leave the same file name, there's a good chance that the players won't see it as a different image and they'll ignore it if it looks the same. So just change the name of the artwork before you upload that as well. Just a side note. So after you look at your episode titles, another thing you can look at too is your audio quality and the equipment you're using. So maybe you started your podcast on your phone, your iPhone, your Android phone, and you talk into the speaker, and that's what you do. You've been doing that for a few episodes now, and you're liking this. You're liking this podcast thing. You're like, you know what? I see everybody using mics, and I don't have one. So maybe it's time for me to go from my laptop mic to an actual microphone that's in front of my face. It might be time to do that. So every 50 episodes, and you're really into this, you really love what you're doing, then maybe it's time for an upgrade. So for me, I've been using the same microphone for across all my shows, around 2,000 episodes. It's a $50 microphone from Amazon, USB, plugs right into my computer. And yeah, it's working great. So maybe one day I'll do one of the big fancy mics that everybody loves. But for me, why fix something that's not broken? So I'm good. I'm good with this right now. But for you, maybe it's time for an upgrade. Maybe it's time to graduate from your phone and move into something a little bit more professional. I'm doing air quotes here. Professional for your show. Evaluate your audio quality and maybe your editing. You're like, well, I don't do editing because I don't know how. Well, maybe it's time to get some advice and get somebody to show you. Again, Dave's hands rising up, waving here. I'd love to help you with that. Or maybe a software update, a tool that you haven't used before that's going to make your show better. There's a lot of things you can do. So update your audio quality and equipment. Look at that every 50 episodes. It's a good mile marker to go, how's it going? Could it be better? And get some feedback. Again, if you're not sure, then reach out to somebody like me, Dave, and I would love to give you some feedback on the audio quality for your show. We'll do it in a loving, caring way. It's not judgy. I love to help you and make yourself the best podcast you can make. So reach out if you need help with that. Another thing you can look at is your podcast trailer. My heart breaks every time I go to a podcast that has no trailer. And people are like, I don't need a trailer. Well, I did a whole episode about podcast trailers because I think it's important, especially if you have like a really long podcast episode. You're doing a 1 hour, 2 hour podcast every week. For a new person coming through the door, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know if I want to like this show. I wish there was a little taste test where I could go, well, okay, sounds like it's interesting. A trailer, for most part, when you upload a trailer to your hosting site, you have the option to do a full episode, a bonus episode, or a trailer, depending on your hosting site, something like that. And if you click the box that says trailer, what happens is on some of the players, the trailer will live at the top of the list, like way up at the top. So it's always there as a bite-sized little morsel to get people interested in your show without committing to an entire episode. And all you're doing is telling people about the show, why it exists, who you are, and just the basics. That's all it is. It's like a movie trailer. It's not the whole movie, just a trailer about the movie. Just make sure whatever happens in the trailer actually happens in the podcast. Not like typical movie trailers where they show you a scene that doesn't exist anywhere. That's fun. Make sure that your podcast trailer actually reflects the tone of your show, how you approach the microphone, kind of what's happening, what's a big idea, and what am I going to get out of this as a listener. Make sure that your trailer is focused on the listener, not focused on you. I don't care about all of your awards. Congratulations. But I want to hear what this show is going to do for me as a listener. Go and check your trailers as well. The next thing you can look at too is your content strategy. What's changed in 50 episodes? This is a great time every 50 episodes to kind of go, all right, has anything changed? Do I feel like I'm gravitating to something different in my show? So like maybe the episode format, I started out as a solo podcaster and now I'm doing coaching calls. Or I started with coaching calls and now I'm going to be doing more interviews. I started out as an interview show. Now I want to do more solo episodes. There's a lot of things that can happen over the course of 50 episodes where you might change slightly. Your approach might change. Maybe the episodes were every week and now they're every second week. Maybe they were a 1-hour show. Now they're 30 minutes. Something happens over time where your show just kind of morphs and becomes something new and different than what it first became when you first started. So in that change, you need to reflect that change in your content strategy and do a review and go, okay, well, what's happened over the last 50 episodes and how am I different? How's my show different? And reflect on that and go, is this where I want to go? Kind of do a reflection and just see if this is the right direction for you. And then adjust your content calendar to align with the listener feedback and also to reflect what's happening in your stats and your analytics. Again, maybe you have a 1-hour show and you're noticing that 30 minutes in, everybody leaves. It might be your content. It might be the listener's habits. And the dog can only walk for 30 minutes, can't walk for an hour. So they only listen to 30 minutes of your show. Or they listen to 3 seconds and they're gone. There's some information coming back to you from your audience. And it's time for you to make some changes, maybe some hard changes, but take the feedback through the listener's stats that come to you and make the right decision for your show. A 1-hour podcast might do better as a 30-minute podcast. It might. Your audience is telling you something, so pay attention and listen to what they're saying to you when you look at your stats. So every 50 episodes, you can do all of these things. You can do some of these things, whatever works for you. I would also suggest that you do a review of the technical and platform updates that are happening in the background for your podcast. We talked about Google Podcast. It doesn't exist. So if you're sending people to Google, stop, because they're going to a dead end. There's nobody there. There's no one home. So don't send them to Google. Send them somewhere else. Is your podcast connected directly to YouTube? Do you want it to be? I do, because it becomes a free backup of all of my episodes and it automatically happens in the background. And it gives me the opportunity to be in front of people who may not know about me traditionally through a regular podcast. So I have a totally different YouTube strategy than all those people trying to make money. Not looking to make money or build an audience really on YouTube. It's just a backup. It's just a backup drive that the whole world has access to. It works really well. So that's my strategy. So I connected my podcast So every time a podcast episode goes to Apple and Spotify and Audible and blah, 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 it also goes to YouTube. So if that's your strategy, great. If you haven't done that and you're like, I should, but I don't know how to, then reach out to me again and I'll walk you through it. We'll do a screen share, get you all set up so you understand how it works and help you get that in place. Love to help you with that. So maybe there's some technical things for your show that you haven't addressed. Every 50 episodes would be a great time for you to do a review. Make sure your podcast is distributed on all of the major platforms and that your RSS feed, really simple syndication, RSS, is active. Everything's working well. There's no mistakes. You're showing up on all the platforms. How do I do that? Go to pod.link, search for your show. If your show doesn't even show up, there's a problem. Yeah, possibly. And you can also then see all of the apps listed there. And if there's only 2 or 5, there's a lot of apps. So be on all the apps. You might as well. Somebody's going to listen. So be there. And then check the analytics tools, Pod SEO, Pod Status, a bunch of different ones, and see what kind of information is coming back to you from your audience through all these great tools. Awesome. So these are all things that you can do for your show to make your show better. Every 50 episodes, it's a great review. And the other thing I'd love for you to do is I want you to celebrate. Because when podcasters start for the first time, there's several hurdles that podcasters get through. The first 5 to 10 episodes is very difficult for a lot of people to get past that spot where a lot of podcasters will hang it up and go, I'm not super famous, I didn't make a lot of money, so I'm done. And they leave, sadly. So to get to 50 episodes, if that's the mile marker for you, as we're referring to this in this episode, that's awesome. So celebrate 50 episodes. That's a big deal. If you did one a week, that's basically a year of content. So congratulations. If you get to 50, that's worth celebrating, because you are definitely in the very small amount of podcasters who get to that point. So celebrate that. Reflect on it. And reflect on yourself. How are you more confident? Go back to listen to, if your first 50, listen to episode 1, then listen to episode 50. You're going to sound different. You're going to sound more engaged. You're going to sound more knowledgeable, more comfortable, not so stiff. You're going to see a change in your own habits and who you are and how you show up in this world. You're going to be a different person just by doing this. You're going to be a better listener for your guests. You're going to ask better questions in your interviews. You're going to do your editing better. You're going to edit, right? You're going to have a website. You're going to have all these things which are going to help you to be a better speaker, to be a better listener, a better builder of community. All these things work together for your advantage over time. So don't forget to celebrate, and don't forget to reflect on how different you are as a podcaster as you continue to grow. 50 episodes is something to celebrate. So take yourself out for ice cream. Take yourself out for a break, a date night. Go play with the kids. Do something to celebrate. Shut the mic off and go take a break. Walk away. Enjoy some time away. And reflect on how fun it is to podcast. Come back refreshed for the next 50. And then review this list again when you get to episode 100 and 150 and 200 and 250. And I just want for you to have the best experience as a podcaster, whether you have 50 episodes or you have 10 or you have 1,000. I just want you to keep showing up and having fun with this. This should light you up. And if it's not, and you're struggling, and you're just looking for some help, reach out, howtopodcast.ca. I'd love to help you. Come join our community on Meetup and meet other podcasters. I'm going to be going to that Meetup in an hour today. It's a Saturday, and I get to go hang out with my podcast friends. And if you're looking for community, we'd love to have you come join us over on meetup.com. You can find the link on howtopodcast.ca. Congratulations on 50 episodes. If you're close, great. If you're new, you got a bunch of episodes ahead of you. You're going to get better. It's going to get easier. And you should never podcast alone. Come join the podcast community at howtopodcast.ca. Love to see you there. Take care. Hey, thanks for being here. Thank you for listening to the end of the podcast. You're here with me. I'm so grateful. I want to put something in front of you. For the person that's listened this far, you're my new best friend. So what I'm trying to do every month is I have a goal, and you can help me with this goal. Very simple. What I'm trying to do is have 5 conversations this month with listeners of the How to Podcast series. You don't have to have a podcast to respond. This can be the first time ever that we're going to have a conversation, but I'm looking to talk to 5 people. Now, you're still here, so you're one of the people that I would love to talk to next. So on my howtopodcast.ca website is a calendar, and I'd love to have you respond on howtopodcast.ca. Just click the calendar link, set up time in my calendar, and in the comments section for the meeting, just put something like listener. That's it. If you have a show, put it in the comments too so I can go listen. But if you don't, I just want to talk to 5 listeners every month from now to the end of the month. So if you're listening to me right now, you're the person I want to talk to. And through howtopodcast.ca, you and I can get together, chat about the show, chat about your journey as a podcaster. Where are you at? What do you need this show to become for you? What's missing? Your feedback. I just want to meet you. And as podcasters, I would encourage you to do something similar to this in your podcast so that you can meet and interact with your audience. So, howtopodcast.ca, I'm looking to talk to 5 people every month, and I would love for you to be one of them. Reach out. It's free. I'm not selling you anything. I just want to talk to you at howtopodcast.ca. Let's get in the calendar and chat. Thanks for listening.
What can you say about one of the nicest guys in Dave Campbell? You have, from the very beginning, been a supportive coach and mentor to so many people. And this collection of new fledgling podcasters like myself who have not even figured out the title or the true content that we're going to be publicizing, right down to those who've been podcasting for years, all feel very strongly that this is such an important part of the process and in helping to support one another in this community. And I'm certain that all comes from you. So 5 stars out of 5 for anyone who is wanting to help support others and learn from others so that we don't repeat the same mistakes, so that we get more out of the experience by podcasting, so that we're able to find our why and really be connected to one another. And it just goes to show that whether you're coming to the Tuesday or the Saturday groups that you've put up online, that all of these people are wanting to remain in this open forum to discuss podcasting in all of its glory. And that is an incredible salute to you, as you really set the tone for all of us. And I sincerely appreciate all that you have and continue doing for us. So again, meetup groups for you, 5 out of 5. I will be there until I possibly cannot. Thank you ever so much from the bottom of my heart.